Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode in our EdTech training series. Today, we're looking at one of my favorite tools that G Suite offers. It's just fun. I don't always use it for strictly educational purposes. Sometimes I use it just to have fun with my students, and that is Google Sites. Now, Google Sites is a drag and drop program allowing you to create your own website. Now, you can't make it look like a professional website per se, but you can make it look pretty close, especially if you spend some time organizing it and play around with it a bit. So today, that's what I'm going to show you. You can get there from clicking on the Google waffle or typing in Google Sites. Remember the trick that I taught you guys a while ago, where you can just go sites.google.com. Or you should be able to hit sites.new, and that might work as well. And then you want to make sure that you go to new Google Sites. They still have the classic Sites Manager. That's their old platform. To be honest, I don't know why they keep it, but they do. You want to go to the new Google Sites and go ahead and click that. And you'll see that it looks very familiar. It looks like all other Google programs. When you go to Google Docs, this similar thing shows up where it gives you templates, right? It gives you your recent things that you've created. Same thing with Google Slides. Look, I'll show you. If I go right now to Google Slides, you're going to see a very similar layout. Look, start new presentation. You have blank, and you have some templates, and then you have my recent presentations. Same thing with Google Sites. So notice the similarities between all these programs, because if you start seeing how similar they are and how Google constructs all of these things, it's going to be a lot easier for you to navigate any G Suite program. And so Google Sites here, you can choose a template to get you started. That's completely fine. I'll show you what one looks like. They give you a portfolio, a student portfolio, club, or a class. Let's just say you're going to do a class. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click that, and it's going to give the template for me. Now, what does a template mean? It means it already created everything for me. I just need to plug in what I want. So notice here, they already did a background picture for me, and it tells me where I should put the class name. And the color coordination is already here as well, and they have some instances where I can upload images. So they just give you this nice little format. I can do my own image for this area. I can do an about me. So it is helpful if you don't want to spend a lot of time with it, but you do see value in it. So I can go ahead and just click in here, and I can just type in my last name, and let's just say that's going to be my class. Here I can put my class overview. These are the instances where I can actually choose images from my computer or from my Google Drive and put them straight there. I can change this image if I want to. I can delete it. I can edit the captions, much like you would in a Google Doc or really any other program. When you want to go and edit something, you just click inside of it, and then you can change what it looks like a little bit. I could do it about me. And then if you notice as well, they already have, as part of this template, 2 new pages, schedule and newsletter. So I'm going to go ahead and click on schedule and see what they have going for us here. So this is telling me to add a calendar, which you can. Here's the calendar logo, and I think I've made reference of this earlier on in the course as well, where you can embed a Google Calendar straight into your Google site. And what's helpful with that is, if you remember, Google Classroom works very close with Google Calendar. So when you create an assignment and give it a due date in Google Classroom, it's already there in Google Calendar. If you don't believe me, go ahead and open up your Google Calendar and take a look at the due dates for this own class, for the different assignments that we've had. You should see that it's right there, and it links you to that assignment. And that's why I think students need to learn about that as well. But here, all I have to do is click on it, and then it's going to bring up my Google Calendars here that I can add. Some of these are my old classes that I've had before. Almost all of them are my old classes that I've had before. And then I have my own personal calendar here with my email. And I can add some other calendars as well, including holidays. So I'm going to go ahead and hit holidays in the United States. And then I'm going to hit insert. And it's going to put in this right here in the calendar. And it's going to just look like this. So right now I'm on Thursday, July 30th. And that's the agenda. There's really nothing here. But if I wanted to, I'd be able to click on month or week, and my students can see that. You can, down below, notice what they did in the template. They put a daily schedule. So this looks like it would be an elementary school teacher who has the same students all day long. So they just literally inserted a text box here and they put in the daily schedule for their students. I can see value in doing something like this for parents, to be honest. If you don't want to spend a long time creating your own website and going through that process to make it the way that you want it, if you click on just a class template, this looks like it's pretty simple and it looks like it's pretty good. And you could just edit whatever you want, and you could add to it later on. That's fine, but this gives you a good foundation. Now, the other page that they have is newsletter. And so I'm going to scroll down and notice here the title of the newsletter can go right here. And they're telling me that I should insert something from Google Drive here, right? So if I click on that button, it'll bring up my Google Drive and it wants me to insert some files. So if you had a different Google Doc as a newsletter each time, you can go ahead and just upload those. You'd have to make sure that your sharing settings are appropriate though. Whenever you do that, remember in Google Docs, or in any Google program, when you want to share something, you need to make sure that everybody can view it if you want everybody to view it. So that's just the template view of it. I do recommend, if you're brand new to Google Sites, a lot of you aren't because a lot of you have used it during COVID, but if you are brand new, go ahead and play around with it by clicking a template and just seeing what it gives you and create your own thing and just imagine what you can do with your own class this way. As you can see here, this template is very much geared towards elementary school. High school teachers are not known for sending monthly or weekly newsletters, although they can. I remember a couple years ago, actually, I was talking with Brian when he was still with us teaching first grade. He was doing a newsletter, and I was encouraging him to perhaps start a Google site for his newsletter instead of sending out an email every single month. Because you know that sending emails sometimes can be tedious, and it would just be a lot easier to just be able to copy and paste it right here for all parents to go to this site instead of you having to contact them all. So just some things to consider. I like the idea of putting the schedule in there, especially if we were doing any form of online learning. Imagine if you had the schedule that the students are supposed to follow, or even a schedule that parents maybe can follow to help them throughout the day, kind of organize their students a little bit more. And then, of course, the home page is where you could put your information. You could upload a syllabus. You could upload pictures from your class. You could upload where the homework's supposed to go. If you want to link to Google Classroom assignments, you can do that. So I do actually really like this template. This is my first time trying out the template version, but it's pretty cool. And if you want, go through, check out the other templates. And now, as you notice here, they're all geared towards education. You have for a club, that would be like National Honor Society or Student Council. Student portfolio, your students can create Google Sites. You can make it an assignment. I've done it before. I'm doing it with summer reading for the high school students. I've done it during COVID as well, and I've done it previously. I have them create their own Google Sites based on books that they were reading. And even down here, like you can see a couple of students kind of shared and gave me editing access of theirs where I can see their book blogs. I can see what they're reading, and they're inserting videos there. They're creating artwork. They're doing a lot of different things. A student portfolio would be where they'd upload a bunch of different assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that template just to show you some other things within Google Sites here. So it's taking a little bit of loading time, but it is coming up. And it's just going to be basic again. Again, here, this is what you would be giving access to your students, right? You would share it with them by hitting up at the top a share button, and you would just share it with the student. And you would put in their name, and it's their learning journey. You could make the students tell them a little bit about themselves, what they've achieved, what are you proud of? And maybe the student uploads their greatest work, their greatest papers, their greatest artwork, what strengths they have, the goals that they want to achieve. You could imagine this being a beginning of the year assignment where they craft this template of a Google site and they insert their own images, and maybe they just start off with their goals. What do you want to work on? And then imagine if they keep this for the course of a year. They now have links to all of their best work. They have what they believe they're strong in, whether or not they've accomplished some of their goals, and so on and so forth. And this is only one page. Right? This is pretty simple to where it's just one page and they're just filling out some of this information. Now, what's cool with this is on the high school level, or really any level, if they really wanted to, they could kind of go down here and what achievements are you proud of? Maybe they put in something like got an A on a paper. Great. Now, what about actually inserting that paper there, right? On the right-hand side is your toolbar. This is where you can do a lot of different things. And if I wanted to insert something, notice I'm already on the Insert tab. I can insert a text box, an image. I could embed a link, or I can insert from Google Drive. So if I wanted to insert the actual paper here, I could click on Google Drive. I could find the paper and just insert it, and it will go right here for anybody on this site to be able to see, as long as the sharing settings are appropriate. So that's the template for Student Portfolio. So hopefully you're gathering your own ideas about this and about how you can use this. Now, if you want to go the next level, or if you're familiar with Google Sites to some extent, you can go ahead and hit blank. This is where it's going to have nothing for you. There's no template. You're the one that's going to be creating it. And this is the standard. You could just insert your title. Now, one of the first things that you want to do is make sure you actually have the site title. Just like any other G Suite program, you want a name for this. So I'm going to go ahead, testing for class. That's my name here. You're going to see in the upper left-hand corner, it also automatically does that. Now, if I want to change the title of this page, I can change it. Hello. Right? Boom. Just changed it, clicked off, and it's automatically saving in Drive, as you can see up here, just like every other G Suite program. Now, what if you don't like the background image? Well, what you can do is you could go down here when you're kind of hovering anywhere around here. You'll see a change image, and I can go ahead and click on that. You can upload your own image. It does need to be within the correct specs, though, because if you have a giant image, obviously it's going to take up too much space. It'll be cut off. If you have a small image, it won't look right. Or you could just select one that they already give for you. And you can also search from things in your Google Drive. You could do a search right here. Like if I wanted to go ahead and hit books after going to the search of the toolbar and hit that, it'll give me some common pictures that I'm allowed to use. And then I click on it and hit select, and it'll go ahead and put the image in the background for me, and it automatically adjusts. Sometimes it'll make it darker, but that's because they want you to be able to read this title. Now, what can you do with the title? Can you change the font and things like that? Unfortunately for the title, you're very limited, but you can make it a title. You can make it normal text. Obviously, it is a title, so you want it to be a title. You can make it bold. You could put it in italics. You can center it or move it left and right. That's really all you can do. You can link it to a different page. Other than that, you are limited. But if you really wanted to change the font of this and the look of this, what you would need to do is change the theme. And the way you do that is on the right-hand side, you have Insert, you have Pages, and you have Theme. So if I click on Theme, notice it's right now on Simple, but let's say I changed it to Vision. Notice it did change it didn't change the font so much, probably because it's bold and in italics, but it did change things a little bit. Up here is blue. If I had more on this page, it would change the look of that. If I go down here, it does give me an option for font style now and colors. Notice the colors are changing now. It doesn't do much right now because there's not much to this site, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it blue. Font style, again, you're limited. You can only do so much, but I'm going to go ahead and do modern, and it is going to change the font of anything that I'm writing here. But in order to see this better, let's insert some other things. So if this is the home page, maybe I just want to explain what this is a little bit. Maybe I'm creating it for parents or students, whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a text box by clicking on it. Now, another way that you can do it is you could just double click anywhere you want and notice the options that come up. You have text, you have drive, you have upload, you have images, or you have embed. All the things that are up here. Again, all I have to do is double click. Watch. Double click. Boom. This little wheel shows up. But if you're more comfortable, right-hand side, I'm going to click on text box, and there it is. Now, again, you can't change the font, but you can change the category of the font. So normal, title, heading, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and put title here, and I'm going to say, what is this? I want my students to really see. And then underneath that, I'm going to do another text box, text, and maybe I'm just going to leave it normal this time, and I'm just going to explain what this is. I am explaining what this site is, and then a bunch of random nonsense, right? You could imagine that I'd have a bit of information here for them. Maybe this is where I give expectations for the course, whatever. Now, if you want this to look a little bit different, on the left-hand side here, each one of these segments, notice like this is a segment, which is why I can drag this. It's its own little puzzle piece, so to speak. That's kind of how you can think of Google Sites, is its own little puzzle pieces. If you look at the logo, it even shows that too. Everything's kind of isolated and segmented, and you kind of put it together. But it does allow you to change some of the aspects here. So if I go on the left-hand side, there's this little color palette. And if I click on that, it does allow me to change the background of it a little bit. I can do regular, I can do emphasis. You can kind of see that it made it a little bit grayer in the background. I can do emphasis 2, which is going to make it even darker, which is great for a title. And then maybe underneath, I want it to be a little less of an emphasis. Actually, I like the regular. I'm going to do that. But you can also choose an image, right? And so let's see what an image looks like if I put it in there. I'm just going to choose a random one. I'll do this white one and select, and it's going to adjust for readability to make it to where you can still see my text. And there you go. So you can put images there as well. You can spruce it up. Again, if you choose your own images, it might not fit perfectly, but now you can start to see what you can do with this type of website. Now, maybe you don't like the way this is looking because it's very chunky, right? There's a lot of stuff here. Now, you can change the size of these segments, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. If you look on the right-hand side, it gives you some layouts that you can use, and I actually use these layouts all the time, and then I just adjust. So notice that there's these different squares where they really want you to put images, but you can insert other things as well, and then text near that. I'm going to go ahead and choose the first layout. Now, notice what it does. Now, it chooses me right here, and it gives me a little template for this chunk of the website. And it tells me I can insert a title here, so maybe I'm going to label this Unit 1. I guess caps lock is on. Unit 1, and maybe I'm saying this is about grammar. Right? Now, what can I do here? Well, if I hit the plus sign, it gives me a bunch of different options. I can upload something from my computer, so maybe it's a slideshow presentation. Maybe it's PowerPoint, whatever you want. I can select an image instead. I can select from something from Google Drive or YouTube. Maybe I have a YouTube video about Unit 1. I can go ahead and click YouTube, and I can put whatever I want here. So I'm just going to search grammar. I don't have my own here, but if you had your own videos, you could do that. And I'm going to go ahead and choose this one, right? And you can imagine if this is your own video about it, boom, now you have Unit 1. This is about grammar. Maybe you don't even want it that. Maybe this is just Unit 1 recap, right? And that way, if a student is sick, they can just go here and they could see what they're supposed to do. Now, that's what we did when we just used the layout. I just kind of stole the way that they're laying out things. But notice, all of these things are draggable too. These are two chunks that are put together here, right? See how I'm taking this? And I can move it around, right? Let's say that I wanted the video up here more. this blue bar that shows up is telling me where I'm going to be putting it. So I want to put it to the right of this. So there you have it. Now that's a little small, right? So I'd have to adjust it even more. So I could click on it and I could drag it and make it bigger, and I could keep dragging it, and then it just starts changing everything. So this is very much so drag and drop. Now, this looks kind of lame on the left-hand side, so maybe I want to add something back here. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose images, Google search, and I'm going to do books again. I'm going to choose an image of a book and insert that. And now it at least looks like it kind of goes together. So I could do that. Some other layouts that it gives you might be more conducive to doing different things. My preference is to do one of the first two layouts, but it really depends what you want. Maybe you don't want any text at all. You just want images, right? Maybe they're images of your students. Maybe they're images of projects. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this one right over here, the third one, second if you're counting it in rows. And as you can see here, there's just one bigger square and two smaller ones. And I could go ahead and maybe this time I'm going to select an image. I'm going to go to Google search and I'm going to type in football. And soccer comes up, but I'm going to choose American football. So I'm going to go ahead and insert that. And that's going to be a bigger picture. Notice, this is what I was talking about. It did cut it off, right? Because the picture is pretty big and it can only fit within here. So if that happens to you, you don't have to delete it. But obviously, I want to see this football player's face. This just looks weird right now. It's already selected, right? I could just click once on it. And there are some options here. You can crop the picture. You can uncrop it. You can insert a link, or you could delete it, or you can hit more editing options, which is the three buttons. And really, all you can do is add a caption or replace it. So not much you can do. But I want to crop the image here. So I'm going to go ahead, click, hit crop. And now it's giving me the opportunity to change the size of the picture. So I'm going to scroll this down because anything that's in black is not going to be shown, right? But maybe right there is better. And I'm going to hit the check mark saying done. And now I have cropped the image to where that looks a little bit more normal. Now on the left-hand side, it's still telling me that I want to insert stuff. So maybe instead of inserting an image this time, I want to insert a calendar. Because maybe this image is telling students, if it was a different one, check out the calendar. So I'm just going to choose a random class. I'll do AP Literature. I'm going to insert that. And now that calendar is going to be right there. And if there was something for today, they would be able to see this. They could scroll through and see that whole calendar. Notice, though, as well, this is a small square. So this calendar is cut off a bit. So probably not best to have a calendar there. Down here, I'm going to hit the plus sign again, telling me I can do different things. And maybe I want to add a YouTube video on football. And I'm going to go ahead and soccer comes up first. That's not American. But anyway, there's Neymar. So right now, the website, the homepage, there's a lot on it. It looks crazy, but you could organize it however you want. If you wanted to start making this a little bit more user-friendly, I can drag this video down. This segment, I can make the videos and the calendar bigger. I can decide to delete the calendar by hitting the delete button, and maybe I just have the video here. I can move it to kind of center it a little bit more. I can center this picture a little bit more. I have this here. If I wanted to delete an entire section, over to the left, when you're kind of hovering near that section, there is a trash can. So I'm going to go ahead and hit delete. And it'll delete just that section. So there's a lot you can do here. It really just depends on your imagination. And you could even Google search teachers' Google sites, and you will see examples of different teachers and what they've put on their Google sites. And there are some excellent ones. During the whole COVID crisis, we had plenty of teachers K through 5 using Google sites. Now, some other things that you can do within Google sites that you need to know is, again, on the right-hand side, if you scroll down, you can make a table of contents. You can do an image carousel, which is pretty fun. If I go ahead and click on that, it'll insert images for me, right? So If you had a bunch of images, basically this is just going to have it in one little chunk, and it's just going to cycle through those images. So I'm going to go ahead and add an image. I'm just going to select it, and this time I'm going to hit NFL. And I guess this is from my Google Drive. I meant to hit Google Image Search, and I'm going to go ahead and hit NFL and go ahead and click some images here. So I have one. You need to have at least 2 images for an image carousel. It works better with more than that as well. I'm going to go in, image search. You can choose your own photos as well. Again, I have options here. Like here's actually one of my own pictures of my dog and my 2 cats. So I have that in here. I'm going to select the third one just to show you guys a little bit more. NFL football. And go ahead and click on that. And now I have 3 images. So and it gives me a preview of these 3 images as well. Now there is a gear icon up at the right. Gears always mean settings. So if I click that, it will give me some additional options. Do I want it to auto start? Right? Which means as soon as somebody logs onto the site, do I want it to start transitioning between pictures? I'm going to say, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Do I want it to show captions? Well, I don't have any captions, so I'll say no. But if I did have captions inside of the images, it will come up. Do I want to show dots? The dots mean, can people manually go through the images? So I'm going to say, yeah. Transition speed, I'm going to say fast right now. By default, it's medium. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit insert. And now it has inserted this image carousel. And notice the 3 dots show me that there are 3 pictures here. Now, question. Why isn't it moving? Because if one of you were to do this right now, you would be like, I only see the one image and I can't move it to the others. This is because you're in the editing mode right now. The image carousel is for your viewers. Now, there are ways which you can see it from the back door, but what I prefer to do when I'm really trying to see what a user would see is up at the top, there is a preview button. It's the 2 screens that it shows you. Go ahead and click the preview button, and it will bring up what your site looks like to a viewer that would go here. So this is what the website would look like to somebody on their computer. Now, what are these other options? Well, we know that not everybody goes to websites on their computer. Sometimes they use a tablet, which is this view. Sometimes they use a smartphone, which is this view, right? And it just shows you what it would look like. It's dynamic, meaning it's going to keep changing depending on what medium people are looking at. So I'm going to go back to the large screen, and I'm going to scroll down to our image carousel that we inserted. Now notice it's going through it automatically. I'm not clicking, and it's going through it fast because that's what I put down. So you could imagine putting an image carousel maybe on your home page of all of your students, right? Or maybe your students' projects, something that they did there. That way when parents log in, they're seeing an entire carousel of the images of their kids and what the class is working on and different class projects and all of that. You could even do it as announcements if you want. If you have like slideshow images, you just download it as a JPEG or some type of file as an image, and you upload them individually, and it'll automatically go through. And you can do that. I wouldn't choose the fast option. Clearly, this is too fast. And so that's the preview. I can hit the X down here to exit the preview, and it'll bring me back to my editing mode. Now, there are some other things on the right-hand side for you to play around with. You can insert maps, you can insert docs, slides, sheets, forms. I'll tell you, for me, what I've done the most is inserting YouTube videos, inserting calendar, inserting some Google Docs, and inserting slides. Because if I have a slideshow presentation for my students, I insert it right there. That's usually the biggest tools that I use, and I play around with these layouts and just drag and drop what I want. But the second tab here is pages. Right now we only have one page. It's the home page. And if I really wanted to, I could rename it by kind of clicking in here, double clicking, and I could rename it whatever I want, but I like home page. But you can add additional pages. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus sign down at the bottom, new page, and I'm going to name it, I'll name it English 1. Because maybe I have one Google site for all of my classes, but each class has their own page. So English 1, it's now creating a second page here. And maybe I don't even want an image in the background. So I can change the image, or I can change the header type. And so here I'm going to click on header type, and you have a bunch of different options. You can do a large banner, you can do a cover, which is even bigger. You could just do a banner, which is normal, or title only. For pages, I like title only. And notice this is where the themes are going to come into play now that we have more stuff. So I'm going to go back to themes here, and let's say I'm going to choose this one, level. Notice the color scheme changed, the font changed, everything about this site changed because I changed the theme. It's not drastic, but it's there, right? So there's Vision, Diplomat, Aristotle. So you could just pick what you want. You're not given too many options anyway, so I wouldn't sweat it too much. My personal favorite is the Vision, and you could play around with the color scheme as well. You could kind of pick whatever you want. It's not going to change too many things. And so now I can do the same thing. I have a new page, right? Now, maybe underneath English 1, though, I don't want to put too much information. Can I have a sub-page? Sure. When you see your pages here and you see English 1, on the right-hand side, you see 3 dots. If you click on that, you can set something else as your home page. You can make a duplicate page if you want to just do a copy and paste type deal, or you can add a sub-page. So I'm going to go ahead and add a sub-page, and I'll name it homework because maybe it's homework for English 1. And so now there's a drop-down menu when I hover over English 1, homework. Right? Maybe I want to do another sub-page, and I will name it schedule. Go ahead and do that, and I'll add a third one. So I'll hit the dots, go to add sub-page, and I'll say Google Classroom link, because maybe I'll provide them the link to our Google Classroom assignments, anything like that. So that way, if my students were to come to this page, they hover over English 1, maybe the main page gives them announcements. So maybe I just do a text box and I say announcements, and I want it to actually look bigger. So heading, announcements, and I'll put down all my announcements right in here. And then the other pages will be specific. So homework maybe is when I insert the calendar of our Google Classroom calendar for any assignments that are upcoming, or maybe I enter it manually. Maybe I put down Monday. So I'll go ahead and put Monday, February 3rd. Paper due, right? And I could just go down that list and I can make things bold. So you can do whatever you want with things like this. You could choose the layouts if you want, and you could just go down the list and you can have whatever you want. You could then insert another page for English 2. I'm going to go ahead and create that. Now notice up at the top, I have home, English 1, English 2. What I recommend is don't have too many pages up at the top. Less is usually more. So try to be as concise as possible, even if it means having more drop-down menus, or if it means creating multiple Google sites. Once you get good at this, you don't need to host all of your information on one site. Maybe you create a different Google site for every single classroom. It's really up to you. I prefer doing that, and I just link to other pages. And if you've ever been on any one of my Google sites, whether it be for the trainings that we've done or for really anything that I've created. I know for COVID-19, I created a Google site that hosted some of our videos and stuff like that. Every time you clicked on something, it brought you to a new Google site. I just always linked to a different site. It was very similar for the elementary students, right? When you go to our website, and I'll actually show you because I believe we have this set up for the summer as well, and people have done a fantastic job working on theirs. If I click on summer work, this is a Google site. And how do I know that? Up at the top, it's sites.google.com/ and then all of this. And if I click on any of these are all linked, and this is great. This is a very basic Google site right here, but it's amazing, right? And up at the top, I can see there's a home page, and I can click on any of these, entering kindergarten, entering first. It's pretty self-explanatory. So I can click on high school, and there's even more drop downs for the high school. So I would say in this regard, it's probably a little bit more drop downs than I would like, but it's pretty self-explanatory, right? The arrows tell you that there's more drop downs for that specific section. So clearly she did the right thing here, and she has a bunch of different subpages. She has a second page for Khan Academy help, and it just gives you some helpful information. So this is a fantastic Google site. It's clear, it's concise, it's not too much, and it links to different things. So here is high school English. I'm going to click on that, and look, it's redirecting you to another Google site. And here's one that I made here, and I have videos for the summer reading, and up at the top I have different pages. Right, I have no drop downs, but I have different things. So if they wanted to see their how to submit work, they click on that. Where do I submit my work? And here's the information. And then here's an inserted Google Doc here. Here are inserted, if I scroll down, inserted videos on how to do a Google site, because that's part of the project. Here's a page for suggested reading. Here's a page if they're going to do a blog, how they can kind of see a sample. What about for a sample vlog, a sample podcast, or AP work? Notice I'm going to click on this, and it says click here for AP. It's going to bring me to yet another Google site. Right, so there's so many different things that you can use Google Sites for. It is very, very, very helpful and a very useful tool. And at this point, there's a lot of you that have played around with Google Sites, so you can actually help other people. Now, the last thing that I'm going to say is some people have been asking me the question, well, I really like Google Sites, so why do I really need Google Classroom if Google Sites looks like it's more fun? Which it is, because you have more versatility with it. You can change the way things look more with Google Sites. But what I would say is there is no way for you to collect work or assign work through Google Sites. Now, yeah, you can put down, hey, this is due. But with Google Classroom, remember, it's linking to Google Calendar. It's giving students reminders via their email or push notifications if they have it downloaded to their phone. You can grade things in Google Classroom and give feedback and have private comments. That's what Google Classroom's for. So Google Sites does not replace Google Classroom. Now, with that being said, if you want to put all of your announcements on Google Sites because it's more fun for you, go ahead. Feel free. What I would do is then at the end, when you publish your site, put the link on Google Classroom. Put it right up at the top of your classwork page and say, click here for announcements. And then that's just where they go. It's very similar to what I do in our Google Classroom page anyway. If I go to our Google Training Classroom page, right up at the top, the classwork is our slides and lessons. Maybe here you title it our website, and then you just have one link, and instead of a link to our slides, you embed the link to the Google site. And that way students are knowing, hey, if I want to see an announcement, I'm going to go straight to our Google site. And you can put instructions for work on Google site if you want to, but I would still be using Google Classroom because its intended purpose is workflow for the students and for yourself. It's how you can communicate with your students for their assignments. It's how you can collect the assignments. So you can use both, but I wouldn't just use Google Sites over Google Classroom unless you're in one of the lower grades. The lower grades, if your kids are not using Google Classroom, it makes sense to only worry about Google Sites. That's great. What I've done in the past personally with Google Sites is I've put my unit information on there. So when I was teaching history or English and we were doing a unit on American literature, let's say in the 1700s, I would put our readings up there. I would put our slideshows up there. I would put our notes up there. And it's very helpful because then when midterms come around or a test, all I have to do is say, you already have your study guide. It's on the website. It's on the website. I don't have to print things out. I don't have to worry about somebody being absent that day because I just tell them everything's on the website. So go to the website. And that way I don't even have to create a new material in Google Classroom and upload like 5, 6, or 7 documents or videos. All I need to do is direct them to the website. So you can do both. You can double team that way, and it will be helpful. So that is how you use Google Sites. And the last thing is, well, how do I get other people to see it? And remember, all Google programs, all G Suite programs, you need to make sure the settings are appropriate. So in this regard for Google Sites, when you're in editing mode here, you'll see in the upper right hand corner, there's a publish button. And if it says publish, then it means whatever changes you've made have not been published yet. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and click publish. This is the first time I'm doing it, and this is what will come up for the very first time, your web address. So this is what you wanted to say at the end of calvarychristianschool.net/. To be honest, I wouldn't concern yourself with the web address too much, because nobody's going to sit there and type in sites.google.com/calvarychristianschool.net/ and then whatever it is. But I'm going to keep it this way, /testing for class. I think that's fine. It's easier for me to remember, but I'm never going to type it in that way. Who can view my site? Well, right now, by default, anyone at Calvary Christian School. But I want to manage that, because if I want my students to see it, yes, they'll be able to, but what about parents who don't have a CCS email address? They won't be able to see it. So I'm going to click Manage, and I'm going to go ahead and change it, and I'm going to share it with different people. Right down at the bottom, links vary. I can click Change and Publish Site. Anyone in this group can find and open Calvary Christian School. I want to click that drop down and change to public. Now, this does not mean that they can edit anything. It just means that they can actually see everything. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Done. And then when I'm done, I can go ahead and hit Publish again. And now it's going to generate a link. And notice the difference. Up at the top, this paperclip before was blurred out. I couldn't click on it because I didn't have a live site. Now I do. And if I want, I can click that to copy the link right here. Hit copy link. And then if I wanted to, I'm going to go ahead into a different browser and I'm going to click paste. And it's going to go right to this website, right? So there you have it. There is Google Sites for you. It's simple to use. There's a lot to it, though, and it overwhelms people often, and they don't think that they can do it. Try one of the templates first. Try out creating your own site. You can do it with your family. You can do it with your kids and create a different page for each child that you have and put their chore schedule on there. You can put their homework schedule on there. You can put their daily schedule on there if you got young kids, and you can have them log into that website and see what they're supposed to do for the day. All right? It's just find ways of practicing it for yourself. You could make a fake site right now, and really what I want you guys to do is try that out. You can use a template, and then when you get the link, make sure you share it with the rest of the class. And the way that you do that is just head on over to our Google Classroom page and post it as something on the stream page. And again, you can get your link by just hitting copy publish site link, copy link, and then go ahead and paste it like you normally would. So that is the basics of how to use Google Sites. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.